Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Our first guest today is a man who is instrumental in giving youngsters their first professional break in television. You notice that I went this way because I wish us all luck. We have 4 of these talented tots with us here in the studio, and here's how we're going to meet them. And without telling the panel why or what the reason is about the whole spot, they don't know anything about it, but each one of them has been given a child to bring out on the stage. So you know how it is when you're working with kids. So let's meet our panel and the kids right now on To Tell the Truth. Kitty Carlisle. Bill Cullen. Maggie Pratt. And Father Tom Poston. This is just remarkable because I figure, you know, at least 1 out of 4 we got to have mayhem by now, well, but everybody's so happy.
I've got a jewel thief here.
I wouldn't hold mine because I'm afraid I'll break it. But I gave her the chair, you see.
You gave her the chair, and yeah. Tom, what'd you say to me as we
boy
came?
Is an angel. His name is John, and I've named a room in my house after him because I like him so much.
This boy's name is Scott.
That's Scott over there, huh? Well, all right. Now, all these bright-looking youngsters either have appeared or are just about to appear very soon professionally on television. And let's meet the man who nudged them into prominence.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Joseph Schneider.
Number 2.
My name is Joseph Schneider.
Number 3.
My name is Joseph Schneider.
Okay, obviously only one of the 3 can indeed be Joseph Schneider, and here is his diaper dossier. It goes this way. I, Joseph A. Schneider, am a child psychologist. As such, I test babies for television commercials. It costs a tremendous amount of money to prepare a TV commercial, and when the script calls for a baby, there's the possibility of a lot of trouble, hence a lot of overtime. This is where I come in. The babies who want the part are brought to me. Depending upon what the client is looking for, I may tease them a bit, unexpectedly toss them up in the air, or perhaps bounce a beach ball off of their tiny noggins. I ferret out the troublemakers and find the precious one who has that special TV magic. While some mothers are taken aback by my tactics, the kiddies, by and large, love it. Now, seen with Kitty Carlisle is Christian Slater, a 1-year-old who appeared on TV for Pampers.
Yeah.
Bill Cullen walked in with 3-year-old Diana Gaynor, who made a commercial for Scott Tissue.
Now you know why I'm not holding her on my lap.
Nestled in the arms of Peggy Cass is 8-month-old Scott Benjamin, who has appeared in an Ivory Snow commercial.
He's a linebacker.
And escorted by Tom Poston is 2-year-old John Gibbons, who also was in an ad for Pampers.
And he just
Signed,
stole the other kid's rattle.
he's going to turn out to be a producer. Signed, Joseph Schneider. And I think it's best not to toy with fate. I think it's probably best for the young folks to take a bow and be returned to their mommies while we have a message or two from our clients out there.
Oh, I could carry him out, young folks.
Now remember that all 3 of these gentlemen claim to be Joseph Schneider, child psychologist who tests kids for television commercials. And let's start the question with, wow, Well, Bill Cullen, why not?
Oh, where are we here? I was so busy with my little tyke there. Number 3. Now, when these children are hired for TV commercials, how are they paid? I mean, assuming they're not a child that's already in demand. What is the pay scale for these children?
Well, they get paid $175.
Wow.
For a 3-hour appearance or 1 hour to however long it takes.
Number 1, do you have to have any safeguards because of the ASPCA?
The ASPCA.
The
That's
child
dogs and
Oh,
things.
well, you know, the people who watch out for
You have to have a nurse, and I believe you have to have a crib as well.
Number 2, after a commercial runs a period of time, let us assume it runs 6 months, then do these children get additional money?
Yes, they get a residual every time the TV is shown. They get an additional fee.
Now, number 1, does the court decide what should be done with the child's money? I know that was brought up in Hollywood a long, long time ago.
I don't know.
No?
No.
Thank you, Bill. Let's go to Peggy.
Now, I really don't know which one of you it is, but I want to know, number 3, it says you tease them a bit. Well, what is that all about, you tease them a bit?
Well, to get reactions from them. You want the baby to react to you and to...
Well, they'll cry if you tease it, right?
No, not always. Sometimes they'll react differently. They'll crawl for you. They'll smile for you. You can make them do all sorts.
Well, number 2, it also says you bounce a beach ball off their tiny noggins. Well, my baby I had might belch you right back. I mean, I don't think that's nice to bounce a big... Don't any mothers get mad at you? I'd give you a punch in your noggin if you did that to my baby.
You do that.
If you bounce a beach ball off a baby's head, they're going to enjoy it very much. It doesn't hurt, and it's a form of recreation for them.
Well, I could recommend the Baby Eye Health for any commercial because he's got this... I mean, he smiles all the time. He's a grand baby. Number 1, how long can you keep the baby under the lights while you're actually photographing?
Well, you can keep it a fairly long period of time, but you cannot work more than a 3-hour period. The law requires that.
But,
And from Peggy, we go to Tom.
Number 2, what is your fee?
Well, I get paid by the advertising agency so much and so much per diem.
That's what my next question was, who paid you, actually? Number 1, are you actually involved in the work when the kids are performing?
Well, I try to see that they're responding the way the advertising agency wants them to respond. I'll show them crackers or bounce a ball or something along those lines to make them react properly.
While they're actually being filmed?
Oh, definitely. These are basically stills that we're working on.
Oh, I see. In other words, number 3, you're actually working with the child at the time they're working. I thought you were just a testing agency.
No, that's not true.
Number 3, did you ever test adults? I should think the same principles would apply there. I know a lot of people that get very testy after a few hours under the lights.
Well, I never work with anyone over the age of about 5 years old.
You are a child psychologist, then?
No, I'm a psychologist, but I deal with children in this work for television.
Thank you.
Sure, before every show, up in the dressing room, we bounce a beach ball off of Peggy's head.
That's
you know,
right.
puts her in good shape. Want to go down to Kitty?
I'd tease her.
It's a fascinating field. Number 1, are you unique in this field as a psychologist, or are there others who do this work with children?
As far as I know, I'm the only one that does this type of work.
How did you happen to get into it?
Basically, I was a baby photographer, and I photographed for an advertising agency.
I see.
And
then
one
went to
agency
school.
had some obstreperous children, and they called me. I foolishly did the work for gratis, and after that, I charged a fee.
Number 2, are you trained as a psychologist?
I am, yes.
Number 2, would you tell me, do you think that being a child model is detrimental to a child's future development?
But definitely not.
Don't think it matters at all?
Not one bit.
Number 3, do you agree with that?
Yes, I think it could help.
Number 2, what do you know about a troublemaker? I mean, what is a troublemaker?
kid that yells when you hit him.
Or if you don't pay him, Kitty, he raises
troublemaker, right?
Number 2, answer.
We try to avoid the type of youngster who will be a clinger, who will cling to mommy, won't go to strangers. We try to avoid a youngster that is so delicate and sensitive that he can only last for 5 minutes.
Well, did you all train these kids?
Hey, there you go. Goes the bell,
They were
bell,
wonderful.
bell. And that
Brother
means
Bruce.
no more time for questions, but lots of time for balloting. And you must mark your ballots. And you mark them for number 1, or for number 2, or for number 3. And as per usual, we pay $50 for each wrong vote, $500 if none of them is right. And Bill Cullen, you must make a decision.
Gee, I don't know. I know nothing about children and nothing about, well, I guess yeah. But anyway, number 3 sounded at least like a psychologist. He didn't try any psychology talk. And they're the sneaky kind, I understand, boy. So I voted for him.
There's
Keep
one for
an eye on
number 3. And Peggy.
Well, there's only one up there that really looks like a psychologist to me.
Oh?
And even more, the only kind of a psychologist that could bounce a ball off a poor little kid's head, and that's 2.
And she's going to have words with you, number 2, if you turn out to be the right one. Let's go from Peggy to Tom. How do you vote, my friend?
I voted for number 1 because when he stepped forward and said his name, little John, sitting in my lap, gave me a tiny benediction, and I thought it was a sick... He gave a little tiny burp, and I thought maybe it was number 1.
Well, we got a tie all snarled up here, a 1, a 2, and a 3, and Kitty, you're going to have to break it.
Well, number 1 looks like a photographer, but number 2 looks like a photographer and a psychologist. And I liked what he said about, you know, clinging to mommy and all the things he has to deal with all day. So I voted for number 2.
I know, any money I'm right.
No,
You bet any money you're right.
I'm right.
You're on number 2, huh?
I'm
All right.
front.
Votes are all in. Well, the real Joseph Schneider, please stand up. We'll be back to you in a moment there, Joseph Schneider. Let's find out about number 1, sir. What is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My real name is Miles Berman. I'm a real estate broker with Philip P. Bernstein and Company in Manhattan.
And number 3, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Ed Wilcox, and I'm a magazine writer.
Well, just to set the record straight, Joseph Schneider, there is some provision made in the law, isn't there, as to what happens to the money that the child earns?
No, not in New York State.
California.
The mother handles the money completely any way she wishes.
Any way she wants it, she can
That's
spend
right.
it on herself?
That's right.
There was that thing on the West Coast where Jackie Coogan
Oh, he was, right.
made a fortune in pictures and grew up to be a penniless kid, and they passed the Coogan law, right?
That's right. Did Mr. Schneider pass on all these kids that we had today?
I
They were
chose
delicious.
everyone.
You were absolutely marvelous.
Mine
you.
was adorable.
Yeah.
Really nifty.
Well, thank you, Joseph Schneider, and thank you also,
For letting me kidnap.
friends, for being with us here on To Tell the Truth.
They were really first class.
I got a small quiz for the panel, but it's so
boy.
simple I almost don't dare show it to you. But these are pictures of kind of strange creatures. What is this fearsome beast called?
Griffin.
Griffin.
A griffin, the mystical half-eagle, half-lion, yeah. And if you know that one, then you're surely going to know
Merv
this one.
Griffin.
Unicorn.
That's a unicorn.
That's a
unicorn.
unicorn.
A
Johnny
unicorn.
Carson.
That's not a Johnny Carson,
Well,
it's a
the
unicorn.
other one is a Merv Griffin.
The famous unicorn of fable and legend. Now, these two monsters and many, many more are the favorite subject of our next guest here on To Tell the Truth, and we'll meet him after a couple of monstrous commercials.
I don't believe that it's...
And now let's meet the man who knows about monsters.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Daniel Cohen.
Number 2.
My name is Daniel Cohen.
Number 3.
My name is Daniel Cohen.
That's what they all say. Here is Daniel Cohen's story. I, Daniel Cohen, am an authority on monsters. My interest in the mythical creatures of mystery and menace has led me to write a book. In it, I describe such fabled monsters as unicorns, griffins, sphinxes, and sea serpents. I attempt to trace their origin historically and show that certain living creatures may have inspired them. I also tell the tales of man-made fake monsters which bear such fascinating names as basilisks, sea monks, and Jenny Hanovers. I bring my monster tales up to the present day with studies of such do they or don't they exist creatures as the Himalayan abominable snowman and the Loch Ness monster. I call my book A Modern Look at Monsters. Signed, Daniel Cohen. Well, Peggy,
Oh, wonderful.
aren't you glad you're up?
Yes. Number 3, what's a basilisk?
A basilisk or a cockatrice.
Or a what?
A basilisk or a cockatrice is a fictional monster taken after a snake. And in Warsaw in 1540, there were actually basilisk hunts, and condemned prisoners were sent downstairs to cellars to find out whether the basilisk was actually a danger to the people in the homes.
Well, did anybody ever catch one?
Never found one. However, Jenny Hanivers were often, which are skates or rays, fishes, with tails sewn on, are often called and sold as basilisks, phony basilisks.
Oh, tails, well, there you are. Number one, when did one first hear of a unicorn?
Oh, the origins of the unicorn are sort of lost in antiquity. It's very ancient.
You don't know which mythology it started in?
No, I wouldn't know which mythology.
Number two, what's the best known unicorn?
And from Peggy, we're going to go to Tom Poston.
Number two, do you think of an animal that might have caused the unicorn myth to begin?
Yes.
The source is very indefinite on the origin of the unicorn. It goes back to mythology, and there are any various number of sources.
Well, name one, number one. A living animal.
A living animal? Well, the narwhal might be a possibility.
The what?
The narwhal.
Oh.
A narwhal. What are those gargoyles, number three, on the buildings in Europe?
Well, they're primarily symbolic representations of what people at the time, religious figures, wanted to maintain or keep away from the churches or religious edifices. They're more creatures of imagination than reality.
Well, why were they on the buildings, number one, especially churches and places like that?
Well, they were partly for decoration, partly, I imagine, in a sort of a magical way of warding off the devil or evil.
Okay, and that takes us down to Kitty Carlisle, please.
Number three, what identifying mark separated the basilisk from all other animals?
Well, there really isn't a basilisk as such.
No, but I mean the representations of a basilisk.
The representations?
Yeah.
Well, you would try to put together, if you were a sorcerer or a
No, there's a specific thing I want you to tell me. You said in your book, apparently, that the number two, that these things were from real people, but grew. Now, what was the Sphinx from?
The Sphinx is just a representation of a lion's body with a man's head in Egyptian
number
mythology.
two, what would be an animal that came from something?
There's no source on that.
It says in the affidavit that they came from, well, all right. Number one, were gargoyles human?
Very testy.
No, they were more demons. They looked more human than animal, I would think, most of the gargoyles.
Number three, does the sea serpent exist?
And that takes us to Bill Cullen.
Number two, does anybody actually claim that these things ever existed or try to foist off remains on people? Is that done? Isn't this conceitedly a mythological thing?
Some of the animals, some of the ancient animals have been. There's a basking shark which rots on the beaches. There was a sighting in Massachusetts, which has a similarity to many of the mythological animals of yore.
Number one, what distinguishes the narwhal, I think you called it? What is its distinguishing characteristic that makes it different from other sea animals, as it were?
Well, it has a long tusk that the thing itself doesn't look like a unicorn, but the tusk, one long curved tusk, was often sold as unicorn horn.
Number three, well, I want to find out
Matter of
about
fact, I have seen a narwhal, and the tusk, if you broke it off, looked so much like a unicorn horn that you would swear that you had either found a tusk or lost a unicorn. You couldn't really spirals down. It's a nifty-looking thing. In any event, it's time for us to vote now and decide as to whether we think it's number one, or we think it's number two, or do we think it's number three. The charge is $50 for each wrong vote, $500 if the panel goes down into utter degradation and defeat, and Peggy starts.
Well, I don't know number one, but I always thought the unicorn was maybe like the white rhino or something that somebody saw. And I don't know about you, number two. Number three, you told us much more than you should have told us if you're really the right one, but I think you're enthusiastic about your subject, and I think it might be you. You told us loads.
There you go, 1 for 3, and Tom Poston?
I tell you the truth, I don't know what a nice boy named Daniel Cohen is doing fooling around with these monsters, but I did think that it was number one. I couldn't vote for number three because of that spate of information, and number two said that a lion on the body with the head of a man on a sphinx?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. What are those funny things that protrude from the chest of that lion? I'm sure that's a lady.
Oh,
That's gotta be a lady.
Oh, but I thought you meant man as a thing.
Man in the generic sense.
Yes.
Let's go to Kitty.
That's the best.
Well, I voted for number three. I agree with Peggy. He really told us a lot, but I loved the way he talked about his subject. But number one told us a lot, and I really think it's number one.
So how come you voted for number 3?
I got mixed up. What?
In any event, 3 gets your vote, and Bill Cullen goes.
I know it's number 2.
How do you know?
You know it's number 2.
Because I voted for 1, and that means nobody voted for him, and that's the way the day has been. So it's got to be number 2, and for that reason, I voted for number 1.
We got 2 1s and 2 3s, and let's find out how you fit out there at home with the real Daniel Cohen. Please stand up. Good shot, gentlemen. Let's find out about your buddies. Number 2, sir. What is number 2? What is your real name, and what do you do?
My name is Stephen Stampler. I'm owner of Henry Stampler's Filet Mignon restaurant here in New York City.
Great place to eat. Great place. And number 3 with 2 wrong votes. What is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Mark Drucker, and I work for the Harvard College Admissions Office.
Daniel Cohen, what is it that which animal is the mermaid legend supposed to have come from?
Well, probably from the sea cow.
From the sea cow.
But I'd just like to make a point about the Sphinx. The Greek Sphinx is the head and breasts of a woman. The Egyptian Sphinx is the head of a man. If you think of the great Sphinx at Giza, it has a man's head.
I think Peg Woffington.
In any event, thank you very much, Daniel Cohen and friends, for being here with us on To Tell the Truth. And off you go.
In addition to the cash awards, our first team of challengers will receive the Samsonite Classic Attaché case, featuring color-coordinated portfolio and exterior, strong magnesium frames, and stain-resistant cover from Samsonite. Our second team will receive for the lady in his life exquisite golden tassel jewelry by Sarah Coventry. A necklace with golden tone chains converts to a bracelet and matching earrings, all designed by Sarah Coventry.